These aren't the stories your mother told you. No, these are the other stories.
Today's episode of The Other Stories is Blind Cast, written by Alexandra Elroy and narrated by Alexandra Elroy and Tycho Francis and Nick Herman.
There's a head floating in space.
What do you want about now?
McGilly was waiting for the Malteser he'd flicked up to meander its way into his mouth in zero gravity. He slightly cocked his head to glance over at Stretch, who had been manning the surveillance scanners for any floating debris that might have damaged the satellite they'd been sent up to repair. Stretch was looking through their one little window with a bemused half-smile, as if he was pretty sure that he wasn't seeing something right.
It's really quite a lot like a...
The corners of his mouth slowly drifted down.
Shit, I think it really is.
Yeah? Is it a dragon head? Or a space mermaid head?
McGilly deadpanned. He'd seen his fair share of mind tricks in the void outside their little capsule, and Stretch had always had quite an imagination. McGilly untangled himself from the comfortable pretzel he'd folded his legs into and pushed off to join Stretch by the window. He caught him by the shoulder to steady himself.
Right there.
Stretch pointed.
It's just an astronaut's helmet.
Oh, and someone accidentally left it outside when they went back in, did they? Isn't it fucking weird? Besides, I'm sure that I saw...
Saw what?
Hell's bells, there it was again.
Quit the ghost story suspense crap. What is it?
It was a face inside the visor.
Bullshit.
No, hang on. It turned away from us now. It should be turning back in a few seconds.
The two engineers stood there, both hunched over and staring out of their ship's window, quietly waiting for the thing outside to complete its own little mini-rotation.
There it is! It's far away, but it's a motherfucking face. Right there. It's a human head.
Hang on.
What, you left your glasses at mission control, you nearsighted prick?
Just give me a second to look.
Aw, man. Do you think it's a murder victim? Folks shooting all kinds of junk into space these days. What if this is how someone gets rid of their victims? Could have a whole mass of corpses floating around. But it's in an astronaut's helmet, though. Did any of our ships explode? Did we ever lose a colleague during maintenance because they hit something sharp, slicing them up? We haven't lost an astronaut in decades. Have we? Remember, that guy who got untethered once and floated out, never seen again, and...
It's not a head.
Like hell it ain't!
McGilly leaned back.
It's not a head.
Stretch pointed to the floating thing, his own face considerably paler than before, his mouth hanging open. The floating Malteser gently bounced off his forehead.
But there's eyes and a mouth and everything!
No. Look. Real close, like. See? There. It's moving.
You need to stop yapping right the hell now. It can't be moving. Holy shit, it's moving.
McGilly sighed.
It's just an old television with a round screen. See? One of those old videosphere things. No reanimated corpses. It's showing a news broadcast or something. Just zoomed in on someone talking at the camera.
Stretch was quiet for a second, his mind processing this new bit of information.
Okay, so it's a TV. That's still weird as hell.
Those things were so cool. Space was all the rage just after we first landed on the moon. They shaped their televisions like space helmets. They sent messages into space to make contact with aliens.
It's an antique TV floating around in low orbit 1,500 kilometers from the nearest living room.
They had proper shows back then. Remember the Star Lost?
Wow, look who's suddenly showing an interest now that they can reference their precious binge shows. Tell me this, McGilly, how the hell is that thing on?
Let's go check it out.
McGilly grabbed the wall's grips, moving hand over hand towards their freshly stored EMUs, and started pulling out one of the suits. Stretch followed.
You can't be serious. We just got back in.
You just got back in. I hardly ever get a chance to go out there.
McGilly had wriggled into the legs and boots and instigated the lower torso assembly. Stretch huffed.
That's because I'm the mechanic, and you do most of the monitoring.
Well, we don't need a mechanic for this one, do we? That TV is clearly working.
And it shouldn't be. It really, really shouldn't.
It's probably just a prank left by the last shift.
The last shift was over a year ago. You think they rigged an old piece of junk to work perfectly and independently in a freezing vacuum for 365 days?
McGilly shrugged.
I guess. I'm not the mechanic.
Stretch looked at him, incredulous.
And I'm not the monitor. I'm not trained to keep others safe on unauthorized space strolls.
Come on, Stretch. It's not like we've never switched roles before. All you need to do is check the bleepy thing for any large debris floating in our trajectory, monitor my life support, let me out, let me back in. That TV is 50 meters out max. We nudge the ship, I pop out, and back in. Roberta's your auntie.
The EMU was not designed to put on single-handedly, and Stretch was helping McGilly with the body seal closure while he complained.
Just grab it and head back in, yeah?
The familiar, empty dread of stepping into complete nothing was not one McGilly had ever gotten over. Instead, he'd learned to just let the urge to freeze overtake him, let his knees buckle, and simply stop standing. In one moment, he went from being attached to something to being fully abandoned by touch. Except that there was one thing to touch, out there, in front of him. The quirky little television was bright orange and designed to make consumers want to bring it home with them. It hung there, in the nowhere, inviting McGilly to take a load off and goggle at the box. McGilly reached behind him and found the side of the ship.
Okay. I'm pushing off.
The tinny voice of Stretch crackled over the intercom.
Gotcha.
Shit, I missed.
Shocker. I'll reel you back in.
No need to be cocky about it. Not like your aim's never off.
By the way, I have a theory.
Enlighten me.
This is one of our oldest satellites. Maybe one of the OG mechanics was some quirk who took the TV with him to check if the broadcasting worked okay, and would pick up the signal. Maybe he built a special little receiver dish or something. No need to wait for the feedback from control.
How's it still working then?
Easy. It was turned off, still had some battery life left, and it recently collided with the satellite, hitting those big clunky buttons and turning it back on.
Uh-huh. I'm pushing off again.
Hey, McGilly.
Yeah, Stretch.
I ate your Malteser.
Well, fuck you.
Why didn't you come in here and say that to my face?
I got it.
McGilly held the TV as if he was cupping a lover's cheeks, softly spinning in his momentum, like he was ballroom dancing with it. It really was pretty much the same size as his helmet. He stared at the black and white face of the man who was neutrally looking out from the screen, not tilting or turning his head at all. He was rapidly moving his lips without any changes in his blank expression. There was a bit of spittle glistening on the side of the man's mouth.
Stretch, you have a connection to the satellite's transmissions. Is it broadcasting anything like this that the TV could be picking up?
Did it just go into Dr. Phil?
Nope.
Then no, not from this satellite.
It really was just the head showing on the screen. No body, shoulders, not even a neck.
The sound isn't working.
McGilly said, turning the TV this way and that, fiddling with the knobs to raise the volume. There was a beat before Stretch reacted.
Are you taking the piss?
Realization dawned, and McGilly felt his cheeks flush pink inside his helmet. In space, no one can hear you scream. No atoms for the sound waves to vibrate.
Obviously.
He mumbled.
Bring it inside so we can check out what it's saying.
McGilly tucked the TV under one arm and gave Stretch the okay to reel in his tethering cable. When he was about halfway back, the screen suddenly shut down.
Hold on, stop.
What's up? Did you break it?
No, it's back on now. As soon as you stop reeling me in.
Hold it still then. I've been running through radio waves to see if I can find the sound. I think I got something. I'll put it on the system.
A sudden cacophony of simultaneous sounds and aggressive static assaulted McGilly's ears, instinctively making him throw up his hands to block his ears. His gloves hit his helmet, and the TV stayed where it was, floating in front of him, with the man's mouth moving somewhat in tandem with the main pulse of the clamour.
Ooh, sorry.
Stretch lowered the sound.
It's just snippets of different stuff all at once. It's full chaos.
No. Hang on.
McGilly focused his gaze on the lips on the screen, puckering and stretching, teeth hitting, occasional sprays of spit, matching the movements to bits of sound that stood out.
There, that was a child's voice. Saying hello in English? Some other language? And music. Like an opera. And is that Johnny B. Good?
So, snippets. Chaos.
No, this is all bits of audio they sent along on the Voyager spacecrafts back in '77 to make contact with extraterrestrial life. That wasn't on a TV, though. This is not from there. Besides, they sent that thing way off into space. It should be in interstellar space by now. Outside the heliopause.
Return to sender, did they? Can't blame them.
The EMU was getting uncomfortable. Itches that McGilly couldn't scratch developed in its folds.
Imagine finding random sounds in an empty UFO, though. If your kind maybe doesn't even use sound. What would you even do with it?
Nice little puzzle to crack, I guess. Depending on who or what finds it.
First thing I would do was to try to gather more information. See what else is floating around in space. Before being dumb enough to make actual contact.
The eyes of the man on the screen looked hollow and dry, but still he did not blink. McGilly pondered.
I'm looking around here. They'd find a bunch of satellites that are sending content to the home planet. Some kind of monarchs. Clearly showing that the media attracts us. Maybe they could even ride the signal. Down to the TV sets that look like our head.
Stretch's connection crackled, his response inaudible. McGilly didn't mind, as he was mainly talking to himself as he mused, not quite sure where these thoughts were coming from.
Maybe they'd even reel in an untethered astronaut once. Like that one you said we lost. Floating around like space debris. But he would probably already be dead by the time they found him.
The man on screen almost seemed to be looking straight into McGilly's eyes, as his mouth kept moving in tandem with the sound that was still playing over the comm. Large, wide-open eyes, as if they were kept open by something other than himself, as his lips and jaw were pulled in all directions.
Maybe they'd try to literally put everything together. To make sense of things. Maybe they'd need more input still. More of us.
McGilly looked down at his tethering cable leading back to their ship, like a large carp at the end of a fishing line. Then he looked back to the TV, the colourful, alluring thingy, floating along until it attracted something.
Stretch, you're still monitoring for, dangerous stuff around the ship, right?
The ship hung there quietly, no Stretch staring out through the little window, no way to hear if the motors were still rumbling.
Stretch? Time to reel me back in, buddy. Stretch?
There was no response, except for the sound snippets from Voyager 2, a child saying hello, bits of opera, unknown languages, and Johnny Be Good, growing louder, still crackling like an angry fire over the comm.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode of The Other Stories. Blind Cast was written by Alexandra Elroy, narrated by Alexandra Elroy, Tycho Francis, and Nick Herman, produced by Carl Hughes with music by Chris Zabriskie and Tom Robson, and sound effects provided by freesound.org. The episode illustration was provided by Luke Spoon of Carry On House. Joshua Boucher is our story programmer, and along with Jasmine Arch and the eyeless ones, Mary Pastrano and Cody Czarzasty, he helps to manage our community. And a big thanks to Ben Errington for the ongoing explosion of content he fires out of his social media cannon. Alexandra is a bilingual voice actress and writer who lives in the Netherlands. She loves everything to do with stories, especially creative and playful horror. Her favourite voices to do are witches, goblins, and crazy computers. When she's not voicing, writing, or mummying, she directs plays that she adapted from classic novels such as Pride and Prejudice, Death on the Nile, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Francis is an actor, narrator, and storyteller with a background in theatre and voice work. He loves the drama, but even more so the quiet pull of darker tales. You can walk with him at lonely_midnight_artist. Nick is a performer from Portland, Oregon, USA. He trained at the University of Oregon and worked professionally in London, UK for 3 years. His roles include Mr. Tinsworthy in the confidential musical theatre project, King Sextimus in Once Upon a Mattress, and Carrot in Guards. He loves improvisation and is currently training at Boom Chicago in Amsterdam. The Other Stories is a production of the Story Studio Hawk and Cleaver and is brought to you with a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. That means don't change it, don't sell it, but by all means share the hell out of it. Until next time.